Hello, everybody. Welcome to our post-daily news update for Thursday, November the 25th. I am John Pollock alongside Wai Ting. A happy Thanksgiving to all of our American viewers and listeners out there. Here in Canada, we call this Thursday. Hello, Wai.
Happy Thursday. It's always a good day to give thanks no matter what. So thank you all for being here live at 1 o'clock.
We are LIVE live. So
Today.
lots of news to get into here, a fair amount here. But off the top, want to make mention that we have our Black Friday sale going on at store.postwrestling.com. It will be going all weekend long.
Yes, it starts tomorrow, Friday, runs through Saturday, Sunday, and ends Monday evening. So 20% off all items at store.postwrestling.com, including t-shirts, toques, hats, as seen on Dynamite, using checkout code
Eggs.
There you go. Make sure to get the delay in there as well when you type in your checkout code.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like go to type it in, but take a deep breath first before you type it in. Eggs, which have been the focus of pro wrestling programming over the past couple of days. So happy Thanksgiving, Wai. We will now get into a few news items. Coming out of Dynamite on Wednesday night, we got the confirmation of the report that Andrew Zarian was the first to note several weeks back that the first TNT quarterly special that AEW will be producing will be a live Battle of the Belts card on Saturday, January the 8th at the Bojangles Coliseum in Charlotte, North Carolina. And this is going to be kind of this whole run, I would say, as much as this is usually a lull in the pro wrestling calendar way. I think for AEW, they have a lot of interesting shows coming up over the next month that are going to include the UBS Arena show on December 8th. Winter is Coming, December 15th in Texas. Greensboro Coliseum on December 22nd, a very historical building that WWE is also running later this month. Is it this week? It's very soon that they are running Greensboro. And then Daly's Place at the end of the year, Prudential Center 3 days before the TNT special. So it's a lot of big shows. And as we spoke about Wednesday night on Rewind to Dynamite, it seems that you do have quite a lot of big matches that are percolating. The biggest ones being the title match between Hangman Page and Bryan Danielson, and this CM Punk MJF program that has, I think, greatly accelerated after Wednesday's promo.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think as the year progresses, it'll be more and more interesting to see how AEW strategizes when it comes to how do they differentiate their TV shows and then their TV specials now, and then ultimately these pay-per-views. But they're in a great position right now to be able to at least slot all of those shows with big main events. Another advantage that AEW has is it's not an audience that strictly watches. I mean, it is an audience that watches for star power, but you can put the undercard, you can fill the undercard with like great wrestling matches. Even like a Daniel Garcia can be on one of these undercards with some build. I'm not saying no build, but even some build. And I think he'll garner a whole lot of interest if the match on paper looks attractive. So they have a lot of that to rely on. And you know what? Like there are always constant complaints now at this point about how much airtime there exists for the talent, but they have a lot of shows to fill. So maybe it bodes well for the industry.
That's right. I mean, you do have the key matches of the TBS tournament still to come, which would make sense to wrap it up when you're moving to TBS. So that's going to be a major focus over the next month as you get into the Final Four.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been a good tournament so far, really, and hopefully the attention kind of hones in on it a little bit more as we get towards the finals. But yeah, I think all eyes will be on that week.
At the end of the show on Wednesday night, not on the broadcast, but the end of the live event portion for those in attendance, they announced that they will be coming back to the Wintrust Arena February 2nd. So this is a market that they are not shy about running, but the demand is there. Like they were sold out. They sold out the Wintrust Arena a few weeks ago. Like they had over 7,000 people. I don't know what the exact figure was. And coming back in February, like this is that is their home market. And it is one that they definitely feel that they can run on that kind of continuous loop.
Chicago is spoiled, man. We're just waiting for anything right now up in Canada. So hopefully in the next year, some announcements for outside of the country.
I think it's going to open up a lot. I mean, we do have WWE coming at the end of the month, at the end of December for a
Yeah,
house show.
it's a start.
I
It's a
think you
start.
will. I think you will see the increased Canadian events starting to pop up. I'm very curious to see like how, not so much like a WWE, even an AEW coming here, but what is just what is the independent scene going to look like? Like there are some scattered shows that go on, but it's certainly not at the volume that we were seeing in years past, where you had all these different companies that were running on almost a weekly basis. That in the Greater Toronto area, you could find shows.
Yeah, the recovery process will take a while. I think even, especially in our city, maybe even people feeling comfortable enough to be packed in a tight room with a lot of other people. But yeah, I believe people are starting to get their third shots now. I believe in the U.S. that's now a big thing as well. So hopefully in the next year things just continue to get better.
Moving on to NXT numbers from Tuesday night, they did 625,000 viewers. So that was a 9% bump from the week prior, where they had actually fallen out of the top 50 cable programs. They were number 31 this week with a 0.14 in the demo, up 17% from the week before. So it seemed like this was a bounce back from a pretty bad number the week before. Not a number that's going to knock you off your seat, but it was at least some kind of a stabilization with, I guess, the promise of like a triple threat match that, like, I didn't look at this show as one that's like, oh, this is really gonna spark things, but it was at least enough to curb how they were hit the week before, and sort of our typical range for NXT numbers.
I feel like with these shows, it's you're watching it now, and you might stick around. I suppose somehow they stopped the bleeding. I can't say it's probably not for the poker. It's probably, I don't know. Could it be the main event? But I don't. I think it's more so just people maybe not watching the competition, whatever the competition was.
Yeah, I think that's going to be where NXT is slotted, in that it is one that, are you going to rearrange your plans for Tuesday night viewing? No, it's really going to come up to what else is on television or what else is going on in my life, that if X, Y, and Z fail, I will watch NXT. And I think that's going to be applied to many pro wrestling programs in 2022. It is going to be the idea. Like, let's look at January 8th way. On their own, I could see a lot of people saying, I'm really interested in this New Japan Noah card. I'm interested in Hard to Kill after 2 months of buildup. I'm interested in Battle of the Belts. But when you're putting all of them together, I don't know if we're going to see the large number that are going to try and consume two of those three, much less all three. It's going to be what is the most intriguing, and the others are going to fall by the wayside. And I think you're going to be making lots of those decisions as we have this just content heavy era of pro wrestling. And there's going to be, unfortunately, casualties in that process that are just not going to have the demand to support the programming.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, you can make the argument that there was always this much wrestling around, but we're just maybe hearing about it a lot more. A lot more names are, I suppose, being spread out that are considered relevant. But it gets to the point where not only are you maybe ignoring a lot from what you're watching live, but even taped, people only have so much time. So the competition is really strong. Like, you have to be really good to get people's attention if you're not in AEW or WWE.
You know what I'm most curious about? This weekend, there is no Bellator. There's no UFC. What is Eric Marcotte doing on a Saturday night?
Well, I don't know about that, but I can tell you what he'll be doing next Thursday, because he won't be on the debut episode, but on episode 2 of MCU Later, Eric Marcotte will be joining us, me and WH, to talk about Hawkeye. So maybe he'll be doing some research for Hawkeye.
You have become seamless with the plugs. Very natural.
Yeah, I gotta, I learn from the best.
So the first edition of this season of MCU Later, as we will dub it. So this is 2 episodes of Hawkeye that they have dropped. Is that correct, or just 1?
2 episodes that are up on Disney Plus right now, and yeah, 15 minutes each, John. So I don't know if you have time in the weekend for it or not, but hopefully you do, and you jump along for the ride.
That's a full length movie.
Yeah, longer than some. Absolutely. So, yeah, WH and I will be talking all about that tonight on the Post Wrestling Cafe for all patrons. MCU later returns.
The saga of TripleMania, the AAA card for December the 4th in Monterey, continues. We have our fourth addition to the Mega Championship match for the vacant title. So, already announced has been El Hijo del Vikingo, Samurai del Sol, and Jay Lethal. Joining that match is AEW's Bobby Fish. And it would appear that there's one more name to be added, but they did a promo with Adam Cole and Bobby Fish, setting up Fish going for what Adam Cole is calling the Omega Championship that was wrongly taken from Kenny.
The Omega Championship. Seriously, we're after the last story. I mean, a lot of buzz now being generated for this AAA match, and I think much of it stems from the fact that it's associated with Kenny Omega's title, but also the fact that they're including so many pretty well-known names on this side of a lot of AEW names. Let's be honest. That
do
makes
you think that these
compelling.
names are going to mean a lot in for Mexico, like Bobby Fish and Jay Lethal? Because I don't think they're going to mean a whole lot there, and I'm curious to see like what kind of buzz there's going to be for this show next week. And we should add the fact that this comes with the announcement that Fight TV will be streaming this event, which I don't know what the status of the lawsuit is that was preventing them from being able to broadcast these events, but Fight TV is going to be running the event, so there will be a window for U.S. and Canadian viewers to watch the event now.
Oh, that's wonderful news. Excellent news. Yeah, I mean, it feels like we're covering this every single day, talking about who's going to be on this thing, and I imagine there'd be a lot of interest from people wanting to know how to order this show. So that's good to hear.
And there will be they are promoting Spanish and English commentary for the show.
Oh God, I would hope so. Well, yeah, great. It's hard for me to say how much traction, like a Bobby Fish or Jay Lethal being added to the match will add to a Mexican audience. Maybe Rob Viper can help us answer some of those questions. But
I would love to hear Rob calling this show with Vampiro. That would be my dream commentary team, so that Vampiro can get an answer when he stands up. Where's my music? Where's my music?
Oh,
and Rob could explain.
Oh my goodness.
That's my dream commentary duo for this card.
I guess no word yet on who the commentary team may be.
No, they have not announced names yet. But yeah, we will see. It would not surprise me at all if Vampiro ended up in this role, but we will see who is calling this. And that's obviously English commentary is very important for any of these international products. But on that same note, it's going to kind of indicate where the buzz is on Cain Velasquez, because it feels very cold right now. I don't sense a whole lot of Cain Velasquez returning to pro wrestling. That his initial AAA run did have a lot of that intrigue.
Unfortunately, like once he went through what he went through, a lot of that, sorry to say it, momentum was lost. Behind him.
It was very tarnished after. Like that was a very unfulfilling cup of coffee with WWE.
Yeah. We've seen him be able to do some flips here and there, but it was not able to show that. It was pretty much like completely insignificant throughout the WWE run. And then now it just feels like he's kind of going backwards in his career. I don't see WWE taking him back, certainly not at this stage with their current philosophy about how old their talents are. So, if people getting so excited about the potential of a Cain Velasquez entering pro wrestling this time around isn't so much there, but he could have an amazing performance. He could surprise us again. And,
I don't think it'll be surprising way. I think Cain is going to go out there and it probably will be like, he can't underperform from the lasting memory of people from that WWE run. I think just showing up and doing anything is going to be notable. And I think this is someone that is probably very aware of how unsatisfying that brief time with WWE was, to be back under the mask and perform in a way that is going to stand out. Like I do see him being the story coming out of this event. I just don't know if it's going to be a big story going into the show for maximum buzz.
I mean, the story, what if JDS shows up?
Listen, I totally think that Cain Velasquez in AEW could very well happen. I just think that looking at the history of him and Junior Dos Santos, I cannot imagine Tony Khan not being interested in that. And that's not with any kind of insight to it. I'm just looking on paper that I couldn't imagine not doing something with those two now that Cain is back.
I think it would be more so having them on opposing sides with two regular wrestlers accompanying them. I don't know.
Though you would be front row if they announced a singles pro wrestling match between those two.
I would love to see it because but for the wrong reasons, because it could go very wrong.
I wouldn't. I like the tag idea much better.
Yeah, but I also do wonder like how much of that feud is actually relevant to your casual wrestling fan who might not have been watching MMA that closely, but from like 10 years ago.
You got to tell the story, certainly, to update people. We are 8 years removed from their last fight, so that's a long time, and also not a feud that every pro wrestling fan is going to understand, other than you have two former champions and starting from that beginning block.
Mm-hmm.
Austin Gunn has put out an apology. Some tweets surfaced from 2013 with some racist language included. And these are very unfortunate tweets that he put out a statement on Wednesday night addressing, stating they were made when he was 17 years old in 2013 and brought to his attention. He says that I majored in elementary education in college, and throughout that process, I took multiple meetings dealing with sensitivity, how to treat others, and to understand the severity of actions and words, which cannot be undone once they happen. All I ask is that you do not judge me based solely on these tweets, but on the man I've become. He also said that AEW regularly provides excellent sensitivity programs that I have attended multiple times. I want to continue to learn from my mistakes, improve my view on the world, and strive to be a person my parents would be proud of. I was not raised this way. I do not condone this behavior or the use of these words. I'm extremely sorry. Thank you for reading this. The whole statement can be read on the site or on his Twitter. And I mean, what can you say other than it's disappointing whenever you discover stuff like this, and how much you look at somebody and assess what kind of an individual they are today. And hopefully this is something that he does have deep regret over and is not a reflection of who he is today. I think that's the most you can hope for.
Yeah. So he's 27 right now. That would have been 8 years ago. It would have been.
Yeah. So
19?
On looking at like his Wikipedia
17
and
it says.
He said 17. I mean, the way this works out, he would have been 18 at the time, unless his Wikipedia date of birth is incorrect.
Doesn't matter. Like that
17 or 18. Yeah.
That's an age range. That's essentially the same thing. And it's hard to justify. You're never able to justify, but to just kind of justify immaturity at that age. Yeah, like you're growing and whatnot, but it's a terrible look. This is at a time when this group is getting their biggest push ever. A lot of prior instances of Billy Gunn dressing up in blackface as part of an angle that was dictated to him have surfaced as well. I mean that to me I think is separate. It was totally distasteful, but it was also a role that we assume was penned for him, and maybe anyway, it's a whole other thing. I obviously it's a terrible look, and it's very disappointing to see any sort of like performer, even at the age of 17, 18, 19, using this sort of language, of course. But I also think that it's not my apology to accept. It's not your apology to accept. It is the apology of the Black community, the Black professional wrestling community out there to accept. So if you are trying to give your take on this, I leave that to them. If you're not a member of that community, all we can do is just maybe kind of look at it and comment it and see how it plays out.
It's very well said, and it's how I always feel about this. It's like, this is not targeted at me, so I'm not the one that can assess how those words affect me, and that's it's not for us to really dictate that. So I echo what you just said there. Just wrapping up here, So GCW, Game Changer Wrestling, they have placed tickets on sale for their big show at the Hammerstein Ballroom on January 23rd. As of this morning, WrestleTix has been monitoring ticket sales, and Lavi Margolin put up an update this morning that looks like there are under 200 tickets remaining. This thing is going to sell out at what it has been scaled at. It's going to be a huge show for the company, and I think it is going to have their most awareness for a show as they lead towards January 23rd. And my question to you, Wai, is not so much maybe you're surprised. I'm not surprised. I thought that they, selling roughly 2,000 tickets, I thought was certainly going to be an achievable goal for them. But in 2022, when we look at the free agent market and we talk about just such a glut of pro wrestling programming, GCW seems to be one of the few companies this year that has been able to navigate around a world of predominantly WWE and AEW. They found their niche, and I think 2022 is going to dictate and show us what is the ceiling for a company that is not on national television, that is running a pretty rigid schedule. When you look at the events, the live event schedule for this company this year, and I'm sure next year it's going to mirror that, like where GCW fits in the overall landscape, because they are a success story this year.
Big time. Absolutely. Yeah. When it feels like it's, it is a time where many companies might be drawing back. This comes in at the same time as the Ring of Honor news and WWE releasing people left and right. It feels like this is a company with maybe some of the most upward trajectory of any outside of AEW, I would say. And it's incredibly exciting because I think, the hardcore niche, and not just hardcore wrestling, but just hardcore passionate fans of professional wrestling kind of need that outlet to fulfill maybe something that AEW isn't, which is, hardcore wrestling. It's maybe more controversial characters that smoke weed in the middle of a match and things like that. It's great. And this is obviously the biggest test that they have. It'll probably end up being their biggest success story. Now, the only other thing that they have to match is the quality of the show. It needs to be a great show, of course. But there's going to be a whole lot more buzz for this first experiment than there will be maybe for future instances. But that's where the quality of the show has to take over. If this is a good enough show, they get good enough buzz, build good enough interest for the biggest stage that they've ever had. That's, to me, what's going to determine their future success.
Yeah, and it's something that I really didn't process and think about until it was David Bixenspan who made the comment that you could argue GCW is the number 3 company in the US. And when you actually think about that, in a world where Ring of Honor is not going to be the Ring of Honor of old, GCW, it's like they are on the road, they are drawing all over the country. They would be ahead of Impact in that sense. They don't have the visibility of being on national television, but as a company, that is a slot that you could certainly make the argument GCW is occupying going into this year. And that begs the question of what is the next step for this company, and learning from the lessons of the past in terms of television deals and moving up.
Yeah. In terms of just role in the industry, John, it feels like they really are not just, I think, in terms of content, but also just in terms of place in the industry, a real spiritual successor to ECW. And so it's something that I think is very interesting to continue to watch.
All right, we're going to wrap things up. Impact Wrestling tonight, the main thing they are promoting is the return of Wrestle House after such a successful first series of Wrestle House. That continues tonight on Access TV, and we will be back on Friday with another post-daily news update. Do check out MCU later tonight for members of the Post Wrestling Cafe, as Wai and WH Park will review the first 2 episodes of Hawkeye. And of course, we will be live Friday night, 11:15 p.m. Eastern Time, for all Cafe members, reviewing Rampage and SmackDown. So again, a happy Thanksgiving to all of our U.S. listeners and viewers, and we will speak with you on Friday.